So my name is Henry Zonio. I'm the director of the Center for Academic Excellence here at Asbury University. Asbury University is a small liberal arts college located in Wilmore, Kentucky. And the center, so we have about 1,200 students traditional undergrad students, and we have some online programs and a few graduate programs as well. But our center mostly serves our traditional undergraduate students, so students who live on campus who are here for the duration of their 4 to 5 years that they're over here. So our center mostly does, the biggest thing that we do is we do course tutoring. We also offer writing consulting and academic coaching as well. And so that's how we use Accudemia most of the time, is for those 3 major services. One other thing that the center does as well is we work in conjunction with our academic accessibility resources department, and we host any testing accommodations. So if students need a quiet place to test, we do that here as well. And we've used Accudemia to help us with the scheduling of those services as well. So.
Okay, great. And how long have you been using Accudemia?
Yeah, so I think we've been using Accudemia for it'll be a year. I think we started last summer was when we made the transition over. So it's been a year, and we've been very happy with it, which is why we're continuing to use it. One of the biggest, well, a few things are the things that we really like about using Accudemia. One is the customer service is really great. Anytime I need help, I've been able to get hold of a real person. So that's been very helpful. One other thing that's been very helpful as well is the integration of our student information services system with Accudemia. So being able to link those 2 systems so that all of the students' schedules and stuff are automatically uploaded into the Accudemia. So it's made it a lot easier for our students to find services like tutoring, especially the course tutoring, for us to be able to partner our course tutors with students. So that's been one of the really big changes. And then also being able to pull up reports a lot faster. We found that with Accudemia, as opposed to a previous service that we were using, it's a lot easier for us to pull up any stats that we need, anything from just usage as far as like which courses are being utilized the most, being able to also figure out stats that we use for our end of the year reports when I report stuff up to my supervisors, as far as like when I'm going to ask for more funding, as a lot of us who run these centers do. So it's nice to have those stats.
Yeah. And I know that when you and I spoke, gosh, it was at this point a little over a year ago, you had mentioned that your center utilizes session assessments. Can you talk a little bit about what kinds of data you have your tutors collect through the session assessments?
Yeah, one way that we've been able to use those assessments is it's a way for our tutors to let us know what's going on with the students that we're working with. So we have 4 questions that we usually have that we have the students or the tutors answer, and they're pretty basic. One is just like what specifically did you work with your student on? Another one is like what resources did you use? And then the third one is what plan did you have with the student to be able to meet with them? So we have those 3 questions that our tutors are required to answer. So that gives us a way just to keep up with where the students are. And then if instructors are curious about what their students are, what kind of help their students are getting, because some instructors either require or give extra credit to have students come to tutoring, so they can take a look and see the progression of their students. And then we do have a 4th question, and that's one that just says, is there anything else that we need to know? Because a lot of times we found that in our tutoring sessions, that students who are coming for support, they'll let their tutor know about other things that are going on, whether it's things like test anxiety, or I know that we've had a couple of instances where like students talking about like that they don't have a laptop or a computer, that they've only been able to work with the computers in the library. And so we've been able to take that information that we gather and then not only help with the academic stuff, but also partner them with other resources around campus, whether it be student life or mostly it's student life, or I mean, if we have a student who's talking about like that they're depressed or something, get them connected to counseling, and then any other things that they might need. So it's a good way for the tutors to be able to communicate with us in the moment that they are actually soon after that they work with the student.
Oh, awesome. And I know that you had mentioned that you all at the university were interested in expanding Accudemia to track horseback riding lessons.
Yeah.
That would have been a very unique use case. Did that end up coming to fruition?
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. So we have an equine program, which I know a number of schools do. And part of the equine program, and this one started before I even got here, so it was new to me to try and figure out how to manage it all. And so they offer horseback riding tutoring, because we've got horseback riding classes, and they only meet once a week. And so a lot of times some of those students need extra time to learn and master new skills. And so, so yeah, that's been an interesting thing to work out. And again, Accudemia has made it easy, so I'm able to give access to our staff person who's in charge of scheduling the horses and teaching that class. So we've worked it out to where we have horseback riding tutors, and then when students sign up, our faculty person who teaches that class is able to go in on a weekly basis and see the tutoring sessions that have been scheduled, because they have to actually schedule the horses a week in advance. And then the tutors need to make sure that they're there. So, so yeah, it's really streamlined that process, because again, like I said, in the previous service we were using, it was kind of clunky. We were trying to figure out the best way to do it, and we figured it out. But Accudemia has made it a lot easier with having multiple accesses that we can give to users, and so so that's been really helpful to do that, especially since our equine program is off campus. So I rarely ever see the faculty person who's in charge of that in person. So it's been nice to have that set up. And at the end of every semester, we sit down and review what's been going good and what we need to improve with that, especially that service. And since using Accudemia, we haven't had to we made little tweaks here and there, but nothing major. So that's been very helpful to get that done.
Yeah, I always love to hear about unique kinds of services, because we hear a lot of tutoring is like the big thing, but there's so many other things that Accudemia can be used for. So we've talked about session assessment, we talked about reporting. I'm wondering if there are any other features that you have found particularly useful, and how you've been utilizing those.
Yeah, one of the things that we did, which I did again, it's like I'm sure there's probably an easier way to do it on Accudemia, but we use Accudemia to schedule all our testing accommodations. So that was also a big deal, especially this past year we had, and I'm sure a lot of other universities, because of COVID and all that and students returning, the number of students needing testing accommodations increased. Like we almost doubled the number of requests for testing accommodations, and that need students qualified for testing accommodations. So we have a very limited space here. So trying to get all of those things scheduled, again, previously we were doing it manually, like with spreadsheets and other things like that. So we were able to go into academia. And what we did in order to do that scheduling was we created, so what I did was I created tutors that were just named test room 1, test room 2, test room 3, and test room 4, and then put those under a testing service. And so we were able to streamline our scheduling to where now we're able to, my staff assistant is able to offload that to a student worker. We just give the student worker all of the testing accommodation requests, and then she goes in on a weekly basis and schedules all, like finds the open spaces, schedules all of them. And then it works really well. We've had very few hiccups since then. The biggest thing was, especially the big test that we had was this past spring semester with finals, with all of the students who had testing accommodations, everybody needing to schedule times. It cut our scheduling time in half, even with the increased volume that we had as far as the number of students who were requesting. Because like I said before, we were using spreadsheets and on paper and trying to make sure that we were coordinating stuff. So it was really nice to have it into an academia. And then now, like at the end of the semester, again, when I was pulling up reports, it was easy for us to pull up and go, okay, this is how many accommodations that we had to do. And again, being able to take that to the provost and say, hey, we need more funding in order to create more space, because this is how many students we're working with. So, but yeah, so that was another helpful thing that we were able to tweak academia in order to make that work.
Awesome. So that this has been really, really helpful. Was there anything else that you wanted to add about your experience with academia?
I mean, those were the two big things. Like I said, the scheduling for you have the horseback riding tutoring, and then also the testing accommodations were two things that I didn't really plan on that those would be the academia would be helpful for. So that's been a big a nice thing for that to happen. But yeah, I think the biggest thing with academia that I really appreciate is the personalized service. I remember that first few months I was submitting support tickets over and over again, but I always got someone, like an actual person, whereas previously I would just get an email saying, well, do this, this, and this. Whereas when I've reached out to academia, I would get a link for a meeting, like to set up a meeting. And usually I've been able to set up a meeting within a day or even less. Maybe I've had some same day meetings as well, which has been very helpful. And I think that's one of the
Good.
biggest reasons why we stayed with academia was the level of support. Because like with the testing, that was one when I was trying to figure all of that out, one of the support people that you all have, he helped us think through different options. So, but yeah, so that's the biggest reason why I stay with academia is even though we're just one college with one center, I don't feel like we're getting any less attention than if we were a larger university with like multiple centers all over the place.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that you all have gotten the help that you need through us. I'm sure our support team would concur that they're very happy to be helping you all. We love to see our clients succeed. We love to see, obviously getting you up and running, getting you running smoothly. So thank you for those really kind words.